My name is Katie. I am a senior admission counselor here at Oglethorpe, and I work with students from Northwest Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, DC, from the West and Midwest United States, as well as transfer students. So a few of you may be someone I get in contact with. Please always be on the lookout for emails from admissions. You're here today, so it means you read at least one. But we are doing some really fantastic other virtual events in this OU series, as well as your course preference forms are starting to go out. So let us know if you've got questions about any of those. So I will pass it off to our wonderful professors here today. And again, please put questions in the Q&A box if you have them.
Hey everybody, hope you're doing well tonight. My name is Matt Wild. I am one of the professors here at Oglethorpe University. I teach in our core program, predominantly in the 100 and the 300 sequences. And then I'm also a professor in our Spanish program. I teach a little bit in our film and media studies program. And then I also teach some of our abroad programs as well. But here tonight, I'm serving in my capacity as faculty coordinator to civic engagement, where I focus on trying to bridge that gap between the classroom and everything else that is happening in our community. And I'll pass it over to our civic engagement scholars, and then we will hear from Global Ed as well. So Ashrakat, Amber, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name is Asha Katasan. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm a politics major here at Oglethorpe, as well as a civic engagement scholar. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about civic engagement today. Amber?
So good evening, everyone. I'm Amber Phillips. I am a sophomore at Oglethorpe. Major is communications, and I'm double minoring in business and film. A little about me, I'm in civic engagement, Black Student Caucus, APO. I do a little bit of everything. So I'm happy to talk to you guys tonight about civic engagement and global ed. So over to Ms. Atencion.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. I am Marissa Atencion. I'm the Assistant Dean of Students and Director for Global Education at Oglethorpe. I'm excited that to partner, as it often happens with civic engagement, to talk about, like Matt said, the extension of the classroom into the community, which can include global learning. And global learning at Oglethorpe, one of the things we'll hopefully be able to highlight today, isn't just about going abroad, but going abroad is really a culminating activity. Oglethorpe has a number of international students from 30 plus countries. And so there is global learning happening on campus at every moment possible, as well as in our backdoor Atlanta, the international community that it is. So while global education people often immediately think about study abroad, I want to expand that a little bit and really highlight how global education supports students in learning from day one, and ideally gets as many students as possible to study abroad. But even if you can't, there's wonderful ways to connect with us and find ways to expand your global competencies and connect with the world that's at our back door. And so I'm going to pass it over to Nina, who happens to be in a very unique place. So I hope she'll share a little bit about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Nina. I am currently a senior at Oglethorpe. My major is international studies, and I'm currently located in Oxford, England, or United Kingdom. So yeah.
Thanks. Great to have everybody here tonight. And as Dr. Atencion Marissa was saying, part of our job in global ed and civic ed engagement is to broaden what we do in the classroom to everything else in your life. So what we like to call co-curricular activities are all these different activities that take place outside of the classroom. Yes, you're coming to Oglethorpe to do all these great and interesting courses, and you're going to be doing so much learning in the classroom, but learning extends beyond the classroom. And that's one of the big things that we like to focus on, as Dr. Atencion was saying, with global or civic engagement. We know that there are all these different opportunities that are taking place outside of the classroom, and we want to leverage everything that Atlanta has to offer so that you can get those different opportunities. So whether it is something more directly tied to the academic curriculum, like studying abroad, for example, or taking a service learning class where your academic component is built into some sort of community partnership, there's all other types of activities that are taking place on campus throughout the year during every semester where we can have that learning still taking place, but it's just taking place in a different way than we're usually thinking about it in terms of the classroom. So we've got a lot of different programs that we offer through civic engagement and global ed that span both the classroom academic learning and then also this co-curricular learning as well. So we'd love to talk to you about that tonight, but ultimately really what we want to focus on today is really trying to extend to you the idea that this learning is going to take place with everything that you do. So it really is up to you as the student to make the most of a lot of these different opportunities that we do offer.
And one of the things I want to highlight, something that is a phrase I want you to keep in your head as we listen to our student panelists, because a lot of this conversation today will be focused on our student panelists. Learning begins at the end of your comfort zone. So a lot of the work that Matt and I do is to get students to push beyond that comfort zone, to find ways to connect with, again, a community partner, a project that's based in a part of your curriculum that you want to expand knowledge of or apply knowledge to, and get you to push through some of what that space might offer to raise awareness about a population, an issue, a potential challenge that you haven't encountered before, which can be challenging, right? You're thinking about it and you get anxious and it's a little out of your comfort zone, but pushing through that really being the thing where the learning happens, where you begin to build different types of relationships, whether that's directly with peers at Oglethorpe or expanding your networks out into the community, where Oglethorpe is often, again, longstanding partners with community organizations or longstanding partners with our exchange and international partnerships abroad. Through this experience of pushing through your comfort zone, you also begin to connect a little bit more with your professional and your personal aspirations, what your values are, what your passions are, what things really drive you in your pursuit of what's coming here at Oglethorpe as a student and what's coming beyond. And so I think the key that we're hoping through hearing from our students and the conversation we'll have today is that you're thinking about how these civic engagement and global education experiences really promote and engage you in a different way to complement the classroom and give you opportunities to work in diverse teams, envision solutions to solve problems, increase your capacity to adapt, be comfortable with a little bit of uncertainty. This year hasn't brought any uncertainty. Openness for differences and valuing those differences, recognizing how those differences are assets to the work that you're doing or the work that you plan to do in the future. And so with that, I want to start our time together with a word cloud. And so in the chat, Katie, if you would we open up screen sharing. I just want to do a quick screen share so that everyone can see the word cloud results in a minute. So there's a link in the chat. If you want to follow that link, it's going to take you to a question. Why? Why? What's your motivation to participate in civic engagement or global engagement activities? And so if you'll just put in a few words and take a minute to engage with us a little around what your expectations are. And if you're having any trouble finding the link, please do let us know. And there we go. I see a few popping up now. I love that EAT is on there. All right, I see a few more people getting comfortable. Helping, yeah.
as a professor who teaches food and culture, not only on campus, but then in some of our study abroad programs as well, I think eating is a perfect way that we can meet new people and explore cultures for sure.
Change, yeah. It's nice not to stay static, right? And definitely through civic engagement and global learning, there are changes to you and to the way that you envision things. So I think I'm going to do a quick, oh, still coming in. I was going to switch us out, but I see some exciting new additions, shifting perspectives, people. Awesome. Meeting new people is probably one of my favorite parts of both of these co-curricular experiences, because when you're in a classroom, you're in classrooms with students you might see regularly, but this is going to be a way for you to connect with students that you might not engage in that classroom space, as well as, like I said, community partners or international partners that unless you were participating in these activities, you wouldn't even know they existed potentially. All right, so I hope that a little bit of reflection, a little bit of time to think a little bit around why you would participate in civic engagement and global education is a good opportunity to transition to a little bit about what global education can offer. So I introduced myself by saying we do more than just study abroad. The work in global education includes supporting students that come from all over the world. We work to help students get integrated, programming that highlights culture and the countries that our students are coming from. We also work very hard to help students think about how to apply the learning that they have gained in being an international student or being a student who studied abroad, and how they can connect that in a workplace, in an internship, to highlight for graduate school the assets they're bringing in a graduate school environment. One of the initiatives that we appreciate very much is our faculty are connecting the classroom content and the lecture material to different things that might be happening within the Atlanta community or within a current event. And so we've had ambassadors from the Japanese government come and talk to our cultural ambassadors, talk about Japan and some of the environmental and sustainability efforts that they have. Those are ways that global education can connect, because we have relationships with the Japan America Society through some of our alumni. They come and we partner together to open up, again, the world at your door, right? And we have an opportunity through our museum to highlight culture and art that is representative of the world. So maybe you didn't get to go to Florence to study abroad, but there's a museum exhibit that allows that space to come to you. And so I think thinking about global education as more than just a mobility and more than just a space for travel is a really important way to ensure that you're getting the most out of connecting with global ed. That being said, we're always excited to see the number of students studying abroad grow each year. We work very hard to connect students to scholarships and funding opportunities to help make study abroad accessible to as many students as possible. We have majors that require study abroad, but I'm really eager and excited to see when students who are in a marketing major or a studio art major are interested in studying abroad at one of our partner institutions. We built those relationships because they offer curriculum that complements what we offer, but you also have access to things like The Hague, which if you're a political science or an international relations student, international studies student, it's an incredible opportunity to be at a place where the Human Rights Convention and the work that is done globally to consider global topics, it's right in your back door. So I think it's important to know that we do have multiple partnerships, 13 at this current time in the world. We have our Lead Abroad campuses that allow us to have faculty, Oglethorpe faculty teaching classes in the summer. Matt is a faculty member and can talk more about those if there are questions. And And then we have multiple opportunities for students to participate in either internships or service-based learning, or study through partnerships with organizations that provide programs throughout the world. So it really is an endless list of opportunities. It's more about how we can connect early on and start to hone in on what you're looking to do to complement your studies, and how we can make that happen over the course of your study at Oglethorpe. So with that, I'll pass it over to Matt.
Thanks, Marissa. So if all the activities that Marissa is talking about are taking place in a global perspective, what we do in civic engagement is taking place in the local perspective. So a lot of our activities focus on our immediate campus, and then we kind of think about how we grow out in terms of our community. So it's not only our immediate campus, but then it's our immediate city, Brookhaven, and then it's our larger city that we're a part of, Atlanta. And then it's also about serving and being engaged with the larger Atlanta metro community. And eventually we start thinking about the state as well. So a lot of our activities are focused on service activities, and a lot of what immediately off the top of a lot of people's minds when you hear something like civic engagement is service. And that is something that we do, and that's a big part of who we are. We are very proud to offer different service days and different service partnerships with local organizations, but we are a lot more than that. So in addition to those service opportunities, we offer a lot of different opportunities for you to engage more broadly with the community around you. So that might be engagement in terms of meeting and learning more about the political atmosphere in Brookhaven or Atlanta or Georgia. This past year, a lot of our efforts were focusing on getting more of our students involved in the voting process, whether that is registering them to vote, whether that is raising awareness for them about various candidates and the processes of our governments, whether again, locally, state, or national. We try and focus on those different things that will leverage the learning that you're doing in the classroom so that you can apply it to making some sort of difference with the community that we're a part of. So we, and you'll hear this a lot throughout your 4 years at Oglethorpe, our motto is make a life, make a living, make a difference. And that really is a lot of how we focus and organize our activities in civic engagement. We want to focus on you being able to make a life. And in making that life, we want you to be able to find some sort of fulfillment and be able to make that living. And then ultimately, once you've made that living, we do want to see that you are giving back in whatever way possible. And that's where you make that difference, because your community is only as good as you're going to make it. So we really want to instill in every single one of our students that you have that power to change the community that you live in, whether through being an activist or just being participatory in something as simple that we think of as voting. But we also see that there are different barriers to engaging in these activities, and we want to break those barriers down so that everybody has access to them. So a little bit about the way that we organize ourselves. I am the faculty coordinator for civic engagement. So again, like I mentioned earlier, I focus a lot on building those connections between the academic classroom, but then also all these co-curricular activities that we do. But then also we've got a really great scholarship program with our civic engagement scholars. And you have already met Amber and Ashrakat, who are two of our civic engagement scholars. So they do a lot of the work in terms of organizing our students, organizing our student organizations, and using them in order to bridge that classroom learning and then this co-curricular space. And they're the ones that are doing a lot of the promotion and organization and execution of the events and programs that we hold on campus, as well as off campus once we are finally into a situation where we can get back off campus. In addition to them, we have a good group. And again, once we're back on campus, we're going to have an even larger group of students who are our CE student leaders. So they are helping along with our staff and then also our civic engagement scholars in terms of carrying out our programming activities like that.
I think what's important to Matt and I was considering doing a quick video, but I'm going to wait till after our students have some time to talk, because I think it's really important that their voices and their experience are the focus right now, and then making sure that we have some time for questions. We'll see if we get time for that quick video and how it ties in. So I'm going to start, if I could. I'm going to put in our chat for the panelists just a quick reminder. If you can describe a little bit more about your experience working, connecting with civic engagement and global education, or both, because I don't want to assume there's possibilities for both at the same time, or parallel in tandem. So give us the what, when, and where. Give us a little bit more information about you and your relationship with us.
Okay, so freshman year, which was last year, or the year before last year, I was on campus and I was involved with civic engagement in terms of on-campus community service with different nonprofit organizations in the Atlanta community. And that being with my first year and getting adjusted to the college life, I was like, okay, like I'm getting a feel of civic engagement. But as Dr. Wild was saying, it's so much more than just doing service or simply doing community service on the weekends. So I would say with the pandemic, my CE experience has shifted into more of organizing, talking with professionals in their fields and nonprofits about what they do, and trying to see how that can get involved with students on campus and how that can teach our students about the political environment, about the environment of Brookhaven, etc. So I would say in shifting things to be more remote has been a unique experience with CE, especially this semester. And I'm excited to see how it goes in the following years going on.
Great, thanks. Ashrakat, do you want to share?
Yeah, I definitely feel like my experience has been a complete antithesis to what Ember had said. When I first got the scholarship, I was told that I would be, out in the field and like really helping out the community and giving back. And then the pandemic hit. And so it was just a complete shift of just people kind of telling me that you have to do these events and do these planning. And I realized I have so much power in the like what I could do when we plan for the community. And so a lot of my work in CE right now has been really at like organizing the student body into participating in different panels, sharing their experiences, and bringing this information to the administration so that we can have some concrete change, happen on a systemic level at the university. And that's been very empowering, being able to have this platform and this space where I can not only show my leadership skills, but I can also hear students, their experiences, their trauma, whatever it may be, and really use it to kind of help make Oglethorpe a better place. I feel like that's very unique to Oglethorpe. I don't know any other institution. I've gone to their institution in Atlanta, and they did not give me a lot of power like that. So it's very special to have this platform that CE has given me.
Nina, do you want to share a little bit about your connection, the what, when, and where with Global Ed?
So my connection is that for my major, I have to study abroad because I'm an international studies major. But I came into Oglethorpe knowing that I wanted to study abroad. Like that was like one of the crucial things that I had to do. And unfortunately it happened in a pandemic. So it's like so much out of my control. But I was fortunate enough that I was able to study here at Oxford this semester, especially since it's my last semester at Oglethorpe as a senior. But so far it's been very interesting, I can say it's a unique study abroad experience. That's pretty much it.
Well, and I would just want to highlight the adaptability piece one more time, because Nina and I have, over the last year plus, really gotten to know each other well, and she's done an incredible amount of just navigating through change and adapting to what's available, put in a lot of effort to prepare for study abroad, applying for some scholarships, getting ready to go, and then being told, nope, not going to happen right now, is a really hard thing to swallow. And so I think the fact that she stayed on course and saw through to the completion, and to make sure that she was able to go abroad, says a lot about how much we work with our students, and how much students really, the determination and drive it's the passion that keeps me going in my job. So All right, with that question, what motivated you, which, is the why? And I sort of heard from Nina, always wanting to, but the motivation, get a little bit more into the motivation, and we'll let you start, Nina, since we'll just go the reverse order.
Well, my motivation was I'm very determined to accomplish anything that I try to do. So even if it was out of my control, I just wanted to do. I think it came to the point where I talked to Dr. Tencio and I was like, hey, I'm gonna put in this last appeal. If this doesn't work out, I'll just let it go. But it's I always had the hope that it would work out at the end. But what motivated me is that I really wanted this experience because I know how great an opportunity it is, especially having that connection and especially in as a college experience within your resume and everything. And just the cultural aspect, you just learn so much about yourself and others and living that adaptability portion of it. So it's I just knew I just really wanted that, and that's what really got me going. But yeah.
Thank you. Ashrika, do you want to share?
Sure. I feel like whenever I was in high school, I really identified the different issues within our different communities and how adverse they are to the growth and development of people in those communities. But I never really understood how I could help tangibly and really put myself in those positions and really make a change. And when I found out about Oglethorpe and the civic engagement, scholarship that they provided, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me not only engage with activists in the community, nonprofits in the community, leaders in the community that I could really conversate with and understand, well, how do I help you? How can I be, into your organization? And it also, made me know that change can happen on any level, whether it be the community level or just your own campus. And so without civic engagement, I don't think I would be able to have that much that much power and that much strength to really make a tangible change within Oglethorpe itself before I got into the community. And I feel like CE has really trained me understanding, start small, and then you go up to this bigger space that you've been dreaming about doing for so long. And I'm really glad. So that motivation of just wanting to make a difference in my own community first, after I had identified all of these issues that I could think of, CE told me just start small and then you got to the bigger community.
Yeah, I would have to agree with my peers, especially with Ashrika, about how in high school I had a similar experience. I would read a lot about different disparities in different communities, and being a person of color, it's okay, I know these narratives, I know different other groups are experiencing different narratives in different forms. How can I go from just knowing and actually doing something about it? And I feel like that mindset really motivates me with civic engagement, but also Oglethorpe, the community is very encouraging. Well, when you're around the right people, it's very encouraging to do something as important as civic engagement, because activism can be exhausting, but being around members like Ashrika who's very motivated to see this change is okay, I can do it because I'm around other people who believe that they can make change too. So that's another thing that motivates me a lot with civic engagement.
So I think that the next question, you may have answered a little bit, but I'd be curious to know if you can reflect a little bit. We're talking to an audience of students who are going to be starting school in the fall, starting university in the fall. You can reflect a little bit about what your expectations might have been. And again, you highlighted a little bit, but what were those expectations? How did you prepare to fulfill the roles that you're in, the space that you're in, and the supporters, who was a part of your community of supporters and saw you through these adjustments? Because the reality is you've all talked about those adjustments and those transitions that you've had to make. What were your expectations, and then maybe how were they a little bit different? So reflect a little bit for us, share the year in a nutshell. And I'm not going to call on anybody to go first because we don't have to go the same order.
Okay. I think I'll start. I thought that it would be a community service project, and maybe some events here and there throughout the semester, and that would have been it. But I did not understand in depth how civic engagement really permeates your education and how it connects into your education until I had, over the summer, Dr. Watt had reached out to me and said, this is Amber. Amber, this is Astrocott. Get to know each other. You guys will be working together a lot this semester. And had it not been for that interaction and for their support as a teacher and a student, especially as a CE scholar, I don't know if I would have been able to manage this job. I had to talk to Amber a lot over the summer to kind of get adjusted and really understand what are our roles, how much power do we have, what are our responsibilities, what was your experience like? And that guidance really helped me mold myself into a CE scholar that I am now. And we started planning and doing all these things. And so when I had that meeting with Dr. Wild over the summer, he framed it in a way that said, the world is your oyster. Oglethorpe is your oyster at this point. You can do whatever you need to in order to bring light to the election that was happening last year, the different, the social justice movement that was happening over the summer, and encouraging conversation that needed to happen among students and bring light to situations and things that needed to be fixed on the campus community. And to frame it in that way, where there is no restriction and that you can do as much as you can and however little as you can, is really beneficial because it allows your mind to run wild. You want to talk to a nonprofit? Go ahead. You want to talk to the president of the university? Go ahead. And those doors are open for you. And that is very unique to Oglethorpe, for these doors to always continuously be open for you. And people encourage you to open those doors. So I really did have a lot of fun over the summer planning different events, even with COVID, but the virtual aspect really does make things easier because now you can meet with the president on Monday and meet with the VP of DEI on Sunday if you want to. And you can make those connections work, and you can write the student body, and they're also very engaging and very open to these opportunities, events and panels and things like that. So last year has been more beneficial than anything else, just having that support system of Amber and Dr. Wild for sure.
So maybe if you want to share a little bit about how you prepared and what some of your expectations were beforehand. I know, the environment at Oxford is quite different than Oglethorpe. Maybe give some insights to that and what your expectations were and how that's been a little different. Who supported you along the way and how that's mattered.
I mean, yeah, the environment is very different because culturally it is very different. I don't know how to put it in words. It's just like you can tell. Like, it's funny because there's this phrase here that, not this phrase, but like someone told me once, like, oh, you can tell who's American even by how they walk through the room or how they carry themselves. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So you can, like, even if I don't have to say a word, like, people can figure out I'm American. But it's like, what I expected, let me see. I don't know, like, I came with this idea, like, oh, this is how England's gonna be. It's gonna be like this, because I was told like stereotypes of British culture and stuff, but I came to like find out that, yeah, I may have certainty to a certain degree, but like everybody's different. Everybody has their own culture. Everybody has their own perspective. So it's like, it was very eye-opening, basically, this whole study abroad. And it like helps you grow as a person. But my supporters have been like Dr. Atencio. She's been with me since the beginning, through all the appeals and all the trials of like switching because of the pandemic, or is this right? Is this the wrong time? How are we going to change it, adapt to it? Basically, your supporters are your family, your friends. When you're missing home and you call up your family member or your friend telling them like, guess what happened today? And like, you just gotta find your like support group at the end of the day. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
I guess I can go. I guess with me, one of the biggest shifts that I had to do was with the pandemic, knowing how CE used to be, and then that immediately getting cut off to everything being online was a little bit hard to get adjusted to, because I'm like, I like the in-person experience of CE. How can I change that into a digital experience, especially for new incoming students? So just figuring out how to exercise those communication skills virtually through social media or through student emails has been one of the things that I had to work on and am still working on. Has been a little bit of a struggle, but as Ashrika mentioned, with things being online, it does make sharing information with students and resources with students a lot easier and a lot faster if we were to be on campus and like have like live events. So it's a catch-22 for me with this new era.
And I'll definitely interject and kind of give more context. I think we had always been selling ourselves a little bit short in civic engagement because we hadn't necessarily explored all the virtual opportunities that were out there. So even though when we get back in the fall and hopefully we've got the all clear to do our in-person activities, because there is something really special about people getting together and creating that sense of community and working together towards a common goal. There's a real power in that. I think also what we realized is that we can do a lot more than we ever thought virtually or digitally. And there's a really good case that I think will be made that we're going to still do a lot of those virtual activities because we can still have a lot of that connection that we wouldn't necessarily have access to before. So instead of only being limited by our geographical location, now we could potentially zoom in different people who are across the country that are sharing the same kind of goals and ideas that we're having. And we can explore that together, and we're just creating a new and more broad sense of community. So I think that's been one of the really great things that I've loved to see from both Ember and Ashrika, is that they've really embraced this challenge and really have demonstrated a lot of resiliency and shown us new pathways forward for sure.
Yeah, and I want to stress that while virtual global learning has existed for probably 15 years or 12 to 15 years, it's not something that has been a dominant focus, and most institutions really did it very sparingly because, you know, as we've all highlighted, the in-person connections and relationships really are where transformation is impressed, right? You have such a transformative experience through physical transitions and seeing locations and places and people and organizations that you haven't come into contact with. And we all were surprised. The virtual learning experiences that are possible and that are happening now, the global learning experiences. We have, you know, Japanese students connecting with people in their homes to, you know, to walk through and talk about spaces and what US homes look like. We have our German partner offering virtual tours of the city and including opportunities to see the Dortmund soccer team playing virtually, because why not, and talk about it and do it together with our German peers. We have opportunities for our partner in Ecuador to share what's going on in the research stations at the Galapagos Islands. Those things weren't happening before we were forced to use the virtual environment. And so the opportunity for those to continue and the likelihood of how those will continue to further complement the in-person that we expect to return is really exciting, because it means there's even more spaces to connect and more opportunities for students to drive what direction the learning goes and what direction the engagement with civic engagement and global education, how that happens. So we've been sharing perspectives from the student panel, but I don't want to forget, if anyone has questions or specific interest in talking about a particular program or area, this is a great time to use the Q&A feature that is there, and Katie, I'm sorry, will help us know what your questions are. I had a video that I had considered sharing, but I really want to make sure if Amber or Ashrika or Nina have anything else to add. I know we're all eager to see this return to in-person and relationships and connections. So maybe you can give us an insight as to what you're thinking the fall might look like for this group of students that are with us today. What types of things would you like to see in the fall that might be possible with this combination of virtual and in-person?
A lot of the panels that we've hosted in the past semester and in the fall were really geared towards students kind of explaining how to be an ally and the different racial trauma they've experienced. And there needs to, a lot of the main takeaway that I got from those panels was students wanted to see more celebrations of joy, more celebrations of their own culture. So I'm thinking Diversity Day, cultural showcases, just little, events where students showcase their culture and we celebrate them with them. I want more of that. I also want more different marginalized communities coming together and talking about, their own experiences and bonding. And one of the ideas that another student leader had thought of was a common ground. If you've ever seen Jubilee on YouTube, they have this common ground where they ask the different questions and the people go into the middle and discuss whether they agree or disagree. I want the same type of experience, hopefully in the fall, with different questions, whether it be explanation of marginalized communities and how they feel and what their experiences are, if there are similarities and overlaps, or with allies and see what they've experienced. And just having those conversations in person is so much more enriching and you get more out of it because the emotion's there and you're not seeing them through a square on a screen. So I'm really looking forward to that in the fall.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We had a student-led panel the other day, and one of the conversations that came up was about having more celebrational events. One of the topics we've been talking about with CE and students is about the recent incident that happened in Atlanta with Asian Americans. So we've been talking about Asian American hate, and with CE, I feel like you get the opportunity to talk with students and get other students' perspectives on what the campus can do. So a lot of students have been talking about having these celebrational events, whether it's with the Asian American student body, or even when we had these open conversations with Black Student Caucus or African Student Associations. So having these events that not only educate, but uplift groups of color and communities of color on campus to make them feel safe and seen on campus is one of the things that I'm excited about to have on campus next semester, especially with learning about all the things that's been going on recently. So that's what I'm excited about for the fall.
Great, and those will be wonderful compliments. I saw the event on Friday evening, and of course it's very targeted to students, but I'm really eager to hear how that conversation went, because the opportunity to connect, again, our identities, an African identity with an African American identity, connecting how this concept and construct of race and what that means from different identity spaces, thinking about how we're connecting with current issues and current events that are going on in Atlanta and in the world. The pandemic has had a massive, obviously, impact worldwide. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to discuss that through the public health lens, through the equity lens, through the lens of, thinking about, freedoms and how individuals make decisions around vaccination. I mean, there's so many opportunities for discussion and things that come up through the classroom that can be extended into the priorities that we have for civic engagement and global ed next year. International Education Week is an annual activity that happens at Oglethorpe, and our campus has not had participants from our exchange partners over the last year, but they're returning. We're ready. We've got about 6 students already lined up, ready to hopefully arrive in the fall. And one of my favorite parts of the year is during International Education Week, how they share about the countries and the cultures and the campuses that they're coming from, to highlight those opportunities for Oglethorpe students to go there at some point in their career. So I agree with you. I'm ready to have some in-person relationship and joy back in those spaces. Well, I didn't see there were any questions that had come in. So I don't know if there were any closing remarks, Matt, that you wanted to make, or Nina, if you have anything that you're excited to share about updates with your return. I know graduation is going to be an exciting time, and I know you've got some things happening with Peace Corps application and other exciting ways to potentially apply your learning from Oxford. Again, just anything you might want to say in closing remarks, feel free.
For anyone, basically my closing remark is like, if anyone has the opportunity and is able to, like, if you can do a study abroad or engage with the global or with the civic engagement, I would say do it, because it provides like these amazing opportunities that like you gain skills and you learn so much about yourself that you wouldn't have if you wouldn't have done it. So like, even just if it's going to another country, or if it's just joining your local volunteer experience, like it really does is an amazing opportunity. So I just recommend to anyone, if you're able to do it, do it.
And I think Ashrakat said it well a little bit earlier too, is one of the great things about being at a smaller school like Oglethorpe is that we can have a more personalized and tailored approach. So if you can dream it, we can make it happen more than likely. So it really is great that we can give students a little bit more power than what they might have at another institution, is being able to work with and know the people's names that you're working with and know more about them. Is we can get you connected with the right people, we can get different ideas going, and we can ultimately execute whatever it is that's your dream or goal or whatever it might be. So that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, is meeting all these new students and then making sure that they're getting the most out of these other spaces that are happening on campus, not just the academic spaces. Yes, that is super important, but these co-curricular spaces are where a lot of the identity exploration and a lot of the personal transformation learning takes place. And that's something that we really prioritize with our liberal arts, more holistic approach at Oglethorpe.
Yeah, I echo what was said. I definitely think that CE also provides something that's outside the classroom, outside of Oglethorpe. I'm doing an internship in the summer, and it was because of the skills that I learned at civic engagement that I got that position. I had offered, this is nothing to do with my roles and responsibilities as an intern, but I asked them, if you want me to provide you with a bigger platform on Instagram or social media and just maintain your presence in the community. I'm working with a firm or a nonprofit that helps with tenants in the housing crisis. If you want me to help you, engage the larger community through social media, maintain your online presence, I learned those skills in civic engagement. And I had offered to do that outside of my, regular responsibilities as an intern, and they were glad to do it. They were really open to the opportunity to kind of maintain their Instagram, maintain their website, and really engage the different communities through webinars and events and planning. And I'm really excited to do that. But I want to emphasize that those skills would have never happened had I not been a part of civic engagement and had I not practiced over and over again the different events that we keep planning. So it's multifaceted, the reward that you can get out of this department.
Yeah. In closing remarks to any students watching, the biggest thing CE is teaching me at this current moment in time is to ask questions. You don't have to do this alone. And I emphasized this before, and I'll emphasize it again. Like, Oglethorpe is a community full of people who would help, whether you've known the person for 3 months or if you've known the person for only like a few seconds. Like, there's people that can help. And I'm still learning how to ask for help and ask questions about how, as a student of color, or how as a student at Oglethorpe, can I help my community move forward? So just asking questions, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, learning about different communities and keeping that open mind is one of the biggest things that I've taken away from CE. And like Dr. Wild said, and you will hear at Oglethorpe, make a life, make a living, make a difference. You will use all these CE skills in your classes and in everyday life. So I highly recommend you giving it a shot once out of your 4 years at Oglethorpe. So that's my closing line.
Thank you, everyone, so much for your wonderful words and advice. I really appreciate your time here tonight. We are going to wrap up unless anyone has any final questions. And if you do have some come up in a half hour, it always happens to me. Make sure you copy my email address from the chat box, and I will be sure to connect you with one of our participants or someone else in our campus community who can answer your question. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll be staying in touch. Thank you, our panelists, and I'll end our recording now.